Welcome to We Wine Whenever. I'm Wendy.
I'm Kelly.
We are talking about Real Housewives of Orange County, Season 18, Episode number 14. High Tea and High Tension is the title of this one.
Yeah, I noticed I really don't like Heather's tagline.
What was it?
Just because I drink from a flute doesn't mean you can play me. It's two different kinds of flutes, Heather.
Well, I think she knows that. Yeah, I don't love it either. It's funny because we didn't ever break down their taglines. Like, we skipped them.
No, yeah, I don't remember doing it. I just, because honestly, I didn't pay that close attention. Like, when they released them before the shows air, I probably pay more attention to it then. But when the shows are beginning, I don't really pay attention to them. But I heard that last night. But now but then I watched the episode and I'm like, well, she's saying now that Shannon, and we'll get there, but she's saying now that Shannon played her. So now we get it. But
yeah. So we start out with Heather checking into some medical facility and they're all getting mammograms. And by them all, I mean her, Gina, and Jen. So she had mentioned when they were out someplace, they were talking about it. And she found out that none of the girls had mammograms recently. And she's a big advocate for that. So how appropriate that it is October right now.
I thought the same thing. Good timing with Aaron.
Yeah, and it's breast cancer awareness. So, that was perfect. So they get there and Jen's telling them like what happened when she went over to Alexis's house and how she threw them out of the house. And Shannon Bedore then says, well, she said, did you hear from her? Like, did you hear from her? Jen said, and she's like, well, she sent me a text last night. And this is the text that she sent her. Hi, Shannon Bedore. Since you're hosting this amazing trip to Europe with our friends, surely you can scrounge up the funds to pay my future husband his $75,000 you borrowed and owe him. Safe travels. Heart emoji. Are you kidding me?
So, like, again, they're just making themselves look like such assholes and then blaming her for making them look like assholes.
Ridiculous. Blaming it on the edit. They're blaming it on the edit.
Yes, them, Shannon, the producers, they really didn't have to do much. The producers kind of had a season off. They didn't even have to do anything.
I know.
The show kind of produced itself, really.
I know. It really did. It really did. So then the doctor comes out and she says that, she's going to be seeing each one of them, shortly. They're going to bring them back for their mammograms. And then Jen says, well, I have this lump over here. And I was like, and everyone's face dropped and 5 months. And, she's like, all right, well, we'll take a look at it. And then, we'll see after, we do your test. And, she goes and she gets the mammogram and then she, does an ultrasound and finds out it's just, from her breast implant, something from her breast implant.
Yeah. Just a scar tissue, whatever.
Right. Whatever it was. But thank God. But again, like how dumb.
5 months. Like,
I mean, I get it.
Could be catastrophic though, if it's,
Yes. And then Gina gets hers and they want to do an ultrasound because she wants to make sure she's got another lymph node and she's fine and Shannon's is fine. And she tells Heather hers is fine, but because of her age and her dense breasts, the mammogram doesn't really detect it as well. So she has an estimated risk number that she gives her. And it's based on, I guess, her age and her family history and other criteria. And hers is at 39%, which is pretty high. And then Heather's like, well, what is the average for my, age group or whatever? And she's like 12%.
Yeah, that's a big difference.
Yeah, and I could see why she was startled with that. And, she's like, okay. So obviously she was going to go home and talk to Terry about it. And then they go out in the waiting room and the girls are all talking and they're like, oh, mine was good. Okay, I have to go. And they really didn't ask Heather how hers was. I mean, they didn't. I mean, she says it in the confessional, but she was the one who invited them there. And I believe
she come out right then and say about the elevated risk or no?
She didn't because I watched. Did you watch What Happens Live?
I did.
Okay,
with
so Shannon, yeah.
Yes.
So Shannon said that she came out at the same time as Gina
Right.
And
they were in the room together.
Right. And
they heard them. Yeah.
Right. And Gina's like, oh, everything's good. I have my other lymph node. And everyone's like, oh, good. And they didn't realize that they didn't ask her, which.
Right. Because while they were still in the room, they were like, yay, everything's good. So they assumed that it was Heather and Gina that, yay, it's all good.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I can see where it would happen. I can see how it would happen.
I still don't think you need to cry and ruin a dinner over it, but we'll get there.
Yeah. And then all the girls are getting ready to go to London and they're packing, with their hats and their crazy furs. And Shannon's talking to her daughter. And then her other daughter, Adeline, calls and they want to show her, they want to FaceTime her the portrait, the boudoir portrait that she got. And they show her that. And it turns out, which I thought was interesting, Stella goes to the University of Paris and Adeline happens to be visiting her at the same time Shannon's going to be there.
Yeah, so that's nice.
2 of her girls are going to be there when she's there. Like in France, she's going to be in London, which is just a hop, skip, and a jump away. So then Tamra's talking to Eddie about how things were with Jen. And Tamra says when she got to the tea party, she sat down and Jen was there and she said, I apologize. We need to talk about this, but this isn't the time. And Eddie's like, well, what did Jen say? And she's like, well, she said fine, like she does. Like,
well, then she sent her another text. Tamra sent her another text apologizing.
Right.
Even after that.
But what did she want her to say? Like,
exactly. What do you want? You pummeled them.
Right.
On air, on TV.
So then Eddie says to Tamra, like, do me a favor, please. Next time, don't get into fights with little bitches. I was like, Tamra says, well, maybe I need to bring him a tampon.
Like, here's the thing. Ryan handled that very well.
He did.
He did. I mean, I definitely wouldn't have handled it that well. I would have gone right back at her and I would have hit way below the belt. So he handled that. So to me, he's not a little bitch because he didn't do that.
Right.
And I don't think Eddie would either. So she needs to stop with the little bitch thing because he could have went in real hard on her. She's got a lot of targets on her people can go at. And he didn't.
I know. But
I do wonder what Shannon knows about Tamra because Shannon keeps like alluding to that. Like, I'm not going back at her with things I could. So there must be a lot there, especially, well, I'm not going to say it because I keep getting myself into trouble.
Okay.
And I wish I knew what Shannon knew about Tamra because I think it's a lot.
Well, maybe we'll find out at some point.
And Tamra said that her and Jen would be fine if they just left Ryan out of it.
Right.
You're the one who keeps bringing up Ryan.
Exactly.
So stop bringing up her boyfriend and then everything will be fine. She's not doing it.
No, she's not doing it.
And she's not bringing up your husband either.
Right.
Yeah.
It's Tamra stirring the pot every single time.
Every single time.
So I thought you'd be very happy to see that the ladies had this very long flight and they were dressed appropriately for a long flight.
They were.
They were wearing their leggings and their sweats and their comfy clothes.
They were so comfortable. I was so happy to see it.
As I watched it.
These are veteran housewives. They get it.
Yes.
New York, they're still new. They'll get there.
I mean, they were only going a 30-minute helicopter ride. This was probably a 13-hour flight.
Yeah, that's true. How about Emily brushing her teeth? What was it, Dr. Pepper?
The things that Emily does, she makes me laugh.
Yeah, that's right up there with the turkey sandwich and the sauna, which I would do the same thing. If I'm hungry, I'm eating.
But are you going to use Dr. Pepper when you're brushing your teeth?
No, I don't like soda.
No, I don't either. Don't either.
No. I would have asked for a bottle of water.
Yes. And then Heather gets up and announces to the flight that they are celebrating Shannon's 60th birthday and that she's single.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
This is Emotional Support Water Bottle. I'm Hannah.
And I'm Ailish. We're 2 besties who don't leave the house without their water bottles.
Every week, we're bringing you conversations about pop culture news, relatable real-life topics, and our random thoughts about the world today.
We cover things like Bravo TV recaps, breaking celebrity scandals, and Hollywood updates, and dig deeper on topics relating to navigating our 30s, dating and relationships, and keeping our work, social lives balanced.
So grab your water bottles and look out for new episodes every Friday.
That was cute. I actually liked that. I really liked that. I thought they went a little heavy with it once they got to London.
Yes, they did. The poor guy, the
silver fox.
Yes.
But that was cute when she did it on the plane. I thought that was cute.
Yes. What else? Oh, so they get there and Shannon introduces herself at the hotel as Shannon Stormsbador, the Duchess of Corona del Mar. It was like, what?
And would she say, these are my ladies in waiting?
Yes, and these are my ladies in waiting. Listen, I love how she takes a theme and she goes all out with it.
For sure. Yeah.
And she was nice enough to buy them English-themed gifts. She got them all their own Burberry scarves, which were beautiful.
Absolutely beautiful.
And, you know, Heather said, take mine back in her confession.
Tamra had a comment.
Yes. And listen, just be nice. Take the
just
scarf.
Be nice. She offered him the money. Right. She's not trying to hide the fact that she's not saying, she's saying I don't want to pay him, but she did make him the offer.
She did.
Did you hear what she said on Watch What Happens Live last night?
I did.
So he finally accepted her offer, but she has to issue a statement saying that he was very generous throughout the relationship.
Right.
How insecure is this guy? How insecure is he?
Just do it. Everyone knows it means nothing.
At this point, it would actually be funny if she did do it.
100%.
She said you have a big penis. She said you're good in bed. She offered you the money back, and you gave her $75,000. So nobody's going to question if you have money at this point. You handed this woman $75,000. You're asking it back now, but what more do you need? Yeah. Nobody's questioning if you have money now when you just handed her $75,000.
Yeah. It's ridiculous.
It's so bizarre to me.
I agree.
I don't think Shannon's ex realizes that nobody really knows who he is, and nobody really cares.
Well, that's it. Nobody really cares. That's it. You got that right. Yeah. Nobody really cares.
Stop making these foolish demands and get your money back and move on with your new. Good luck to you, but move on with your new.
Yeah, that's it. I totally agree.
Yeah.
Then Tamra goes over to Heather and says to Heather, are we going to bring up the Jeff Lewis thing? And Heather is saying that she has a very hard time supporting Shannon now when she tells me one thing and then she goes on Jeff Lewis and says something else.
Now, I'm curious to know your opinion on this because I have an opinion on this.
Well, the interesting thing about it is I watched this today and I had one opinion about it. And on the way home from work today, Jeff Lewis' podcast was on and he had on Katie and he had on Jen Pedrani.
Oh, I have to listen to that.
And it was after they it was actually, they did it on Wednesday because it was after they did the reunion. And he spoke about this. He spoke about this whole situation.
Okay.
And what he said was that, and I remember this at the time, Jeff Lewis was supposed to be on OC and have this conversation with Shannon on camera.
Yes, he was.
And he made that slip up on Watch What Happens Live, and Andy was pissed about it. But then Bravo refused to cover his ass if John Jansen were to sue him. They were making him responsible and liable for anything he said. And he said, well, I'm not going to go on here for entertainment purposes because I know
he's not getting paid.
Even if he was.
Right.
Even if he was.
You're just putting a target on your back.
Right. He said, I'm not doing that. So that's why he didn't do it.
Interesting.
That's why he didn't do it. So then when he had Shannon on the podcast, he said something different than what she said. So he said that when he had her on the podcast, she was very upset, which you can see that she was upset because they played it back. Like we've seen the
clip.
Yeah. And when he said it to her, she was afraid. And he could see that she was afraid. Again, he's already suing her. And she was afraid if she said that he would sue her for more money. And so he just dropped it. He just dropped it. Now, when she was on Watch What Happens Live, she said she misspoke, which could have also been the case. But either way, I don't think that she had, either way, even before I heard the podcast, even before I saw the Watch What Happens Live, I don't think that when she went over to Heather's, I don't think that she was trying to dupe her. I really believe what she said, that she was really having a hard time with what was going on after she just got that news, and she was really upset. And that's what she told Heather. She tell Heather that so she could get it on camera. There was other ways she could have done that if that's
totally
what her motive.
With you. And quite honestly, and maybe I'm wrong, because I sat there for a minute and I rewound and I sat there and I'm like, maybe did I hear something different? I heard her say to Heather when Heather said, "Do you think he heard you crash?" She said, "I don't know." When Jeff asked her, she said, "I haven't really thought about it." Now, to me, okay, they're not the same, but they're in the same realm of an answer. Like, right. I don't know if he heard, and I haven't really thought about it. To me, they are not vastly different answers.
Right.
They're certainly not different enough for Heather to think she got duped or played.
Right.
Don't you agree?
I agree. And really what she was saying is, because at that time she spoke to Heather, she said a good friend of mine, she didn't.
Exactly.
She didn't
wouldn't
know,
even name his name because he's such a litigious person. They're all scared.
She didn't name his name. Heather had no idea who she was referring to.
Right.
And she said to Heather that this friend of mine said, "Do you think he heard it?" And she's like, "Well, I don't know. I didn't give it any thought." That's what she said to Heather then.
Exactly.
And when he asked her on the podcast, again, whether she was afraid or she misspoke, like she said she did on Watch What Happens Live, again, like either one is plausible, and they both have the same kind of, there was no malintent in that conversation.
No.
It wasn't that she was going to try and dupe Heather. She's not that devious. She's not that person. That's not who she is. Right. And I was very surprised, to be quite honest with you, because you know me. I like Heather. I do like Heather. I don't like that she listens to Tamra too much. And every time she does, it bites somebody else in the ass. Because also on the podcast with Jeff Lewis, Katie was talking about what happened with Gina and the paparazzi. And, you know, do you think she threw you under the bus? And what Katie said was, you know, initially what happened is I was talking to Gina before we started filming.
Did you hear that?
I did. Is that at your house?
I think a car just drove by and kids were screaming. I think that's what just happened.
Okay.
I'll ask Bill later if he heard that.
Okay. I forgot what I was saying.
Katie was talking on Jeff Lewis.
Oh yeah.
About the Gina thing.
Yeah. So Katie said, so she was talking to Gina before filming started, and she had mentioned about the paparazzi thing, and she thought it was funny. And Gina said to her then, "That's funny. Yeah, you can bring that. You know, you can bring that up." And then a couple days later, Gina calls her up and said, "You know what? I thought about it. Don't bring it up. Do not bring it up." And Katie's like, "Well, I already talked to casting. They already know about it." Because they were already working on casting her at the time.
So production was involved.
Yes. And then what happened when she went to the golf outing was that Gina was saying to her, "You need to tell Heather," because she had already told Tamra and the other girls, and she didn't want to get back to Heather from somebody other than Katie.
Right.
And that's exactly what happened. Tamra went there first. Once again, Tamra making it worse and still perpetuating to this day that Gina threw her under the bus. So what Katie said was, "Listen, after I watched it back, I don't really think she did throw me under the bus." She goes, "At the time I did." She goes, "But after I watched it back, like she was in a tough situation. Like she was in the middle, and she explained exactly what happened." And Jen and Jen are close right now. Like
I know, and I love that.
Yeah, Katie and Jen are very close, and you know they were talking and they were agreeing about it. So I believe that that's what happened.
Yeah.
Both of these instances are all because of Tamra. Like if Tamra hadn't been involved in it, these things wouldn't be going on.
Right.
She has to insert herself in things that have nothing to do with her.
Right.
It's frustrating to watch. It really is frustrating to watch.
It is very frustrating to watch.
So then they go and they're going on to their trip. They're going to go on a boat ride. And Shannon got all the girls their bucket hats and they're walking over the London Bridge and she wants them all to put on their British flag bucket hats and take a picture. Listen, I'm here for it because I would have done the same damn thing. And you know I would. I do. Mm-hmm. So they got their picture and then they're all going on the Thames River rocket boat. The rocket boat's the thing that got me. I didn't realize it was going to be like a rocket boat.
Yeah, rock being the operative word. That was crazy. I would have been so seasick on that thing.
It was funny to watch. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't really want to go on it to begin with, but then at the end when Emily's like, love the boat. Like, this is like the best thing ever. And everyone else is like, I hate it. And Heather's like, this was not on the list, my London list, not, I wanted to see the crown jewels, maybe go to Harrods, department store.
Yeah.
Not this.
Yeah. That was great.
It was good. Then Emily and Gina are back at the hotel and they're getting ready for their next adventure. And they ask where all the girls are. And Emily's like, well, they're getting their glam done. And Gina brings it up again about Jen getting the glam. And,
I feel like Jen was using Katie's glam, though.
I think she was.
Yeah.
I think that they were sharing.
Not that it's anybody's effing business, but right. I do think that was Katie's glam and Jen was borrowing them.
I do. And like you said, not that it's anyone's business.
It's not. It's certainly not Gina and Emily's business.
No, it's not. It really isn't.
But by the way, what Gina said is exactly what I did for my wedding. So I had gotten my wedding dress at the time, Menlo Park Mall. Macy's had a bridal rama. So I got my wedding dress at the bridal shop in the Macy's at Menlo Park Mall. So the day I picked it up or my last fitting, whatever, I went down to the MAC counter and I had the girl do I told her I'm getting married, do my bridal makeup. She showed me how to do it and I bought every product she used.
Right.
So she got a nice commission. I'm sure I tipped her. I'm sure I gave her something. But she basically showed me how to do my whole face for my wedding.
And then you did it yourself.
And I did it myself.
Which is what Gina does.
Exactly. It was what Gina does. And it's fine. You're buying the product for them. They're getting the commission.
Right. There's nothing wrong with that.
No.
Then Katie is asking Jen how she's doing with Tamra and what does she think about going to dinner tonight because they still haven't really spoke. And Emily and Gina go to Shannon's room and she's not ready yet and helping her tease her hair.
When she was sitting there and she had like the snooky poof. Oh, I hope nobody took a still shot of that.
It's so funny.
We'll come and bite her in the ass.
Sometimes in her quirky moments, she is so disheveled, but she always cleans up very nice.
She's like Chrissy Snow from Three's Company.
Yes. She really does clean up well. So they get to the dinner and they're having a 5-course meal. I noted that. And then Tamra at the dinner said, I heard about the mammograms, once again, stirring the pot. And Gina's was good, but I didn't hear how yours was, Heather. Come on.
That was like a layup. Like, they didn't show them talking about it, right?
No.
But they clearly talked about it.
Yep. And that's when Heather said, no one asked me how mine was.
Did you notice she changed the numbers? Did you notice she said that she has it's not a big deal, but she said
I did.
She has a 40% chance of getting it. And the normal, when it was really 39 and the normal is 11 when it was really 12. Not a big deal.
I know. I did.
But if we're putting so much emphasis on being trustworthy, Heather, you change the numbers in your favor of sympathy, looking for sympathy.
Exactly. I did notice that.
Yeah.
I will say this. When she started crying at the table, I thought it was fake.
I totally agree with you. I think she's the biggest narcissist.
I thought it was fake. I mean, she is a trained actress.
Exactly.
Again, I am a huge Heather fan.
I know you are.
But I have to call out what I saw. I thought it was fake. I thought it was fake. I thought she made too big of a deal about it. Okay, you had your moment. Then let's just let it go.
Right.
And then Gina says, look, she sees the hypocrisy with Heather. Like, you say you want me to tell you when something's bothering me. Well, why don't you tell me? Like, why didn't you call me afterwards?
Right.
And say it. Like, now we're in London and you're crying at the table. Like, I get it. I get where Gina's coming from. Like,
Yeah.
it's not right. It's not right.
No, I totally agree with you. I totally agree.
And then
Katie
starts talking about how, thank God Heather has her medical history because she doesn't have hers because she was adopted.
Right.
And she's going to go to Korea, which we knew, to go meet her birth mom. And I was very shocked to hear that her birth mom was 15 when she had her.
Oh, I didn't hear that point.
Yes. So her mom is 55 and she's 40. So her mom was 15 when she had her.
Wow.
And, she starts, when she's telling them, she's a little bit emotional. She starts crying. And, in her confessional, she said, like, I think that what my mom gave me was a gift because she obviously wasn't equipped at 15 years old. And she said her mom took her home for 3 days and tried to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, at 15, listen, she did the right thing.
Yeah,
she did the right thing.
Yeah.
I really hope we get to see this like next season.
Like, yeah, me too.
Like we got to bring,
like just the fact when she said like I just wanted to know that I'm okay and like I was raised really good and had parents who loved me.
Right.
Yeah, I really hope we see that, or I hope we find out either way.
Yeah. And then Heather says to her when she's saying that, she's like, "Oh my gosh, that's really nice. Like, what kind of gift are you going to bring your mother?" And Emily's like, "Do you see they're talking?" And Heather's like, "What?" She's like, "I'm just saying, like, you guys are getting along. I didn't really know that you were talking. Like, I didn't know that you guys were." And I'm like, "Why are you doing that?"
Yeah, you
Emily?
could have just let it play out. Because then Heather said something not nice at all.
Well, that was in her confessional.
Right. And said that Katie's not interesting.
Right.
She just holds a mean grudge, Heather. Because if anybody sheds a light on her that makes her look anything less than perfect, like that's it, you're cut off.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
No, I don't either. And then once again, Tamra says, "What's going on with your lawsuit?" to Shannon. And Shannon said, "Why are we talking about this?"
Right. It's my birthday and I'm on vacation.
Right. And Tamra said, "You just went on the Jeff Lewis show and talked about it for an hour. And we just talked about this. Like, that's not what, I mean, like, come on.
Right.
Come on.
And you know what? Jeff Lewis is her good friend who supports her. So there you go, Tamra.
Exactly. You know what else Jeff Lewis said? He said that right now Shannon is mad at him because when she went to Mexico and that host made that Instagram post about her, what's his name? Kim Butch. I don't know his name. Whatever
he is. He apologized today. Did you see that?
No, I didn't.
He issued an apology.
Interesting.
Yeah. So who cares who he is?
So when she was on that show, somebody had asked him, like, have you talked to Shannon? And he had said, no, I hadn't talked to her. But in his mind, what he was thinking is, because the guy said that he had like video footage and he didn't know if Shannon did this or not. But what he had said was, listen, I know that Shannon's been having a tough time and she's not in the best place. Mm-hmm. That if something like this did happen, he equated it to back when he was filming. And he would say things on camera that he regretted and he had to apologize for. So I think I
actually heard this. I think I actually heard him say this.
So what he was saying is, listen, I really reserve. I'm not going to really speak about it, but if this is what happened, this may be why it happened. I don't know exactly. I haven't talked to her about it, but I do know myself. This is, I have, when I've been in a bad place and, I've done these things.
Right.
And she was upset about that.
Because she felt like he was like admitting that she's capable of that behavior. Like as her friend, he should have just been like, absolutely not. She would never. Is that what she wanted him to do?
I think that's what she wanted him to do. And listen, he's always stood by her. He's always been a good friend to her. And he said he reached out to her. She didn't reach back out. He said he's going to give her a little bit of time. The girl said that she was like after the reunion was tough. And she was getting ready to go someplace. And he said, well, I'll just give her a little bit of time. And, he is going to reach back out to her. And I'm sure they'll mend it because
I'm sure they will.
And he even said, like, I should have been on the reunion because I could have cleared this up. And they both said, I wish you were, because this explains it better than what happened.
Right.
So he was able to explain it. Shannon talked about it a little bit on Watch What Happens Live. And we saw what played out on the episode. So there's many sides to these things.
She's just really going through it right now. She's got a lot of shit coming at her. For that, I hope that guy never works a day in production again. I really hope so. Because come on, how many people are out there making like millions of dollars that are acting like that? Way worse than I'm sure anything Shannon did. And nobody's calling them out. For that guy to call her out publicly like that on social media, F you should never work in that industry again. You should be ashamed of yourself, especially because you issued an apology today. Like somebody wrote it. Like, was he just looking for his 15 minutes? I mean, listen, chances are she acted a certain kind of way.
You know what, though? Luann came out and made a statement because they asked Luann about it.
Oh, she was there.
Luann was there. And she said, I did not see anything like that. She was getting along with everybody. She was having a good time. So Luann said that she had no idea what this guy was talking about. Just like Shannon said, she had no idea what he was talking about. And I'll be honest with you, Shannon did make this point, and a couple people made this point. This is a Bravo show that Shannon's doing. Bravo isn't going to take difficult personalities to do other shows with.
That's true.
Obviously not a difficult personality. She's never been accused of this before.
Right.
Even if we've seen her go through a lot.
Right.
So why all of a sudden is she being accused of this?
Right.
I mean, she's done many other things.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
I've started thinking a lot more frequently about my own mortality. So I created When We Die Talks, a social media project turned podcast where I ask people to share what they believe happens when we die. I like to think of it as if I'm crowdsourcing ideas about death, not just to find something I can believe in, but to explore ways we can all become more comfortable with the unknown. This podcast is more than just conversations about death. It's about learning how to live without being paralyzed by the fear of the inevitable.
Yeah, I never even thought of that point, but you're right. You're right.
Right?
Yeah.
So, listen, I'm
Weird.
Team Shannon. That's all I have to say.
Absolutely.
Team Shannon.
I did think it was interesting, though, that she said that John sent her a promissory note, though.
Well, he did. I mean,
but
she
then he
said
never
did.
brought it up to her again, right?
No, she said,
I'll watch what happens live.
She said she flipped out on him because she said, I'm not signing that. And he's the one who put it in the email. She never responded to it and she never signed it. And he dropped it. And it didn't come back up again until Alexis got involved, which is exactly what she was saying from the beginning.
Right, right.
Exactly what she was saying from the beginning. So then what happens? Tamra, lawsuit. I said that. Heather gives her thing. She feels like she's the one who's disseminating the information, which is baloney.
Heather was totally making it about herself, and it wasn't about her.
No.
And Tamra is exhausting and the most terrible friend. She's not anybody's friend. She's just a bad person.
No, and then really what sets Shannon off is Tamra, she jumps in and says, Shannon, you're not the effing victim. And that's when she gets up and storms out of the restaurant. She's like, and she's standing there waiting for the elevator. And she's, Tamra's like, well, you were caught in a lie. And she wasn't caught in a lie.
She wasn't caught in a lie.
And
she
Shannon,
was not caught in a lie.
She wasn't. She really wasn't. And then Shannon turns around and starts yelling at Tamra, don't ever call me a victim again. I told you I'm working on myself. And she is working on herself. I'm not a victim. And Tamra's sitting there laughing. I mean, that laughing was so disrespectful.
She's an asshole. And
she's like, you're laughing at me now? And she's like, well, I was laughing because you're behind the bars. And even the other girls at the table were like, what are you doing? You're laughing at her. And then Tamra says, I'm not going running after her again. Surely she's going towards the bar. Again.
I know when she first said it, I was like, what an asshole. But then they do. Then
she does go to the bar.
Can I have a Diet Coke and Belvedere?
Yeah. Listen, she needed it. That's where I'd be going too.
And she wasn't driving.
Right.
She wasn't driving anywhere, for crying out loud.
So I love that Gina went over. I love that Gina went over to her. And, Shannon's trying to explain that when she talked to Heather, she was at her breaking point. She just needed a friend to talk to. And you could see it when she was talking to Heather. You could see she was at her breaking point.
Beside herself.
We saw her break down at the spa with Gina and Emily. Like when she, like, this isn't made up. This isn't a lie. And Tamra wasn't there for any of that.
Right.
So just stop it. Just stop it.
And then when she shows Gina the text with Alexis completely implicating herself. Completely implicating herself to be part of that lawsuit. How? She's so stupid, Alexis.
She really is. She really is. I mean, good for her for having that text from 2018.
Yep.
Good for her for having that. And then the other kicker of it is, Shannon tells Gina when she found that text, she sent it to Tamra. So Tamra knew that she had that text. And she's still riding for Alexis.
Yep. She's disgusting.
What does that tell you? Like, what does that tell you?
She's a terrible, terrible person, Tamra.
She's not a good friend to anyone. She's there for herself. She's there for herself.
I think that's why Heather feeds into her bullshit, because Heather knows if she gets on Tamra's bad side, Tamra's going to come for her next. And as you know, hoity-toity and highfalutin Heather tries to be, she can't even go head to head with Emily. She's not going to go head to head with Tamra. I think she's scared of Tamra, Heather. Maybe not scared, but unsure of what her future on the show would be. Not that she really needs the show, though.
She doesn't need the show.
If Tamra goes down and dirty, something could come out about Heather that she doesn't want out. I mean, my God, she doesn't even want people knowing she calls the paparazzi on herself. Could you imagine if Tamra pulled out some real shit?
Oh, they talked about that too on Jeff Lewis. You got to listen to it.
Yeah, I will. Because I like those two, Katie and Jen, and I'm so glad that they're close and they're friends. I think that's great.
I am too.
Yeah.
And then Gina tells Shannon, "You're a strong." This was the best. "You're a strong woman. You have bigger balls than even Travis." And I'm serious. I was like, Gina, and she laughed. Shannon laughed. Like that's she needed a laugh, and that's
Gina's
what
good
Gina
for
was
comic
there.
relief.
Yeah, she needed that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, like I said, I like Heather. I don't like when she associates herself and she allows Tamra to manipulate the situation, because that is what's happening. And I do think that Heather is smarter than that.
Right. That's why there's got to be a reason she plays along with it, goes along with it.
The interesting thing is when Jeff was talking to them, he was talking to Katie and he's like, he was saying, "I like you. I think you're going to be a good housewife." He's like, "You know what I like about you? Like I think you're smart and you're even keeled. Like you're not going to be the one like yelling and screaming and flipping out." He's like, "I can see you." And Jen was saying like Heather and Katie are actually more alike than they are different, because they're both very kind of proper and
conservative.
Yes, conservative. Reserved. Exactly. Yeah. Whereas Tamra is just a loose cannon.
Yeah, she's a firecracker.
Shannon wears her emotions on her sleeve, she just can't get past that. I mean, when Emily is sober, Emily's good. Like Emily's good, but sometimes she does get catty. She does get catty.
When she drinks.
When she can get messy.
She can get messy when she drinks, for sure.
She can get messy. And
God bless Gina. She's still not drinking.
Yeah,
right?
Good for her. Yeah, good for her. Listen, she looks good. She looks good. She feels good. So, it's working for her.
I know.
It's working for her.
I should try it.
So that's all I have. I know you had wanted to talk a little bit about your latest revelation on New Jersey.
Yes, and I think that this is going to surprise some people. And let me preface this by saying I am still 100% Team Gorga. 100% Team Gorga. But I was watching, prior episodes for probably the 150th time, because that's what I do. And I was watching from the beginning of season 3 when Melissa and Joe first came on the show. And, it really, the first episode, I'm like, and I've never felt this way before, like Joe Gorga started that fight at the christening. When Teresa came over, now I'm sure, and I think they've said this, so I don't think I'm making it up, she didn't allow them to film the first 2 seasons she was on. Like, she would actually tell producers, "Don't put my sister-in-law on the show." And quite honestly, I believe that she would do that. one scene at Audriana's christening, they panned to Melissa and Kathy Wakili. I guess they were sitting together at a table. But when Teresa walked over to the table to say hi to them at the christening, he should have just said, thank you for coming. That's all he had to say. But instead, he went at her. And I understand it's because now they're on the show and now they're filming and now they have to allow her to film. And he didn't want her to film because she didn't let them film. Like, I get it. But he did kind of start that fight. And then the whole season, Melissa's saying she wants an apology from Teresa for starting the fight at the christening. And I'm like, I've never seen it like this before. And again, I've watched it like 150 times, the whole series. And I never saw it that way. And I this is my revelation now. So I think that this will surprise people because of how I normally am about Teresa.
It certainly surprised me when you told me. I was like, oh no, we have to tell everyone this.
Yeah. So I don't think that this negates anything Teresa did after that. I think Teresa was 100% responsible for the stripper gate. I think she 100% called Melissa a gold digger. All the things that came thereafter, I think Teresa's responsible for, and I think she's responsible for the demise of the relationship. I think she screwed up his relationship with his parents. May they rest in peace. I do. But that initial scene or season, that I think that fight was Joe Gorga's fault. And then Melissa asking for an apology, I thought was out of line. Now, what was I just going to say? Damn it, it just went right out of my head. I know. Okay, so the reason that these reruns were on this week is because Teresa's on House of Villains. Now, I don't watch that show, and I won't watch that show. But I did see on social media that Teresa cooked a whole meal for the people on the cast, and they were all complaining that it wasn't good.
Oh, no.
I swear. And I had to watch it for myself, because I just got myself into so much heat for talking about her cooking online.
Right.
They honestly pretty much just said it was salty. So that's really not saying her cooking is bad.
No.
I just thought that it was hysterical that, because now she's saying she and Gia are going to open up an Italian restaurant, which, God bless, I wish you nothing but the best. But that's what they said. It was too salty.
Oh, that's interesting.
So that's my revelation.
All right. And I also wanted to let our listeners know, they probably know by the time this hits, but on our last episode, I had mentioned about Whitney Rose's daughter being in ICU. Well, she was released.
Thank
and
God.
She's home. She's home now. She's home now. So that's great news.
Great news. Holy cow.
And we will continue to pray for Bobby and Whitney Rose's family.
Absolutely. I'm really happy to hear that.
Yeah, me too. Yep. Okay, well, until next time, thank you for watching and listening to We Wine Whenever. Bye.
Bye.